I've also got some polls. Yeah, we forgot to check if they're there. The polls are there. So I'll be doing that to keep you entertained. So it's going to be interactive, entertained, engaged, and not just me talking to you all the time. So I'm really keen on doing that. You'll see me moving panels every now and again because things keep popping up, and I probably can move that somewhere. I'll work that out later. So this is your session. Yes, I've got some experience in this. Most of my clients that I work with have something around self-doubt and imposter syndrome. I help my clients to move beyond that. That's why this is an exciting topic for me, because it's an area that I know a lot about because of what people tell me and how I help them to change. So what's your reason for being here? You don't have to answer all three of them. Just pick one thing. Why are you here? Why are you spending your time on a Thursday afternoon at 4 o'clock on this topic? Why is it important to you? Or what would you like to get out of the session? And then I'll have a look at what you say. And then I think most of it will be, or Maddie can help me with this as well. I think most of it will be obviously because you want to do something differently, but, you know, I'm always open to people, you know, there's usually something different that comes in that I hadn't thought about yet, or so I want to make sure you get what you need out of this session. So I'm going to let you think about that. You know, what is this? Why are you here? Why are you spending your time with me today, or with us together as a collective? What's your reason for being here? Okay, I'll let that come in, and you can, whenever, Maddie, if anything comes through, you can just stop me. I'll just carry on. So in the meantime, so what is imposterism? What is imposter syndrome? It is described as an internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud or a fake. It's internal to you. It's a thought that you have. It's a belief system. It's what you think, that you are not good enough, a fear of being found out, that you don't know enough, and you're not good enough and everybody else is better than you. That's the basics of it. It comes in different degrees. It can be quite impairing or crippling, so to speak, so that you stop taking action, or it can just be there in the background, just bubbling beneath the surface. So people struggle with it in different ways. Just shout, Maddie, if you've got some the responses to why people are here. If not,
yeah, there's actually two people written, 3 or more actually still coming in. Do you want me to?
Yeah, that's okay. Just read a couple, or maybe the one, if they say, because I want to know more about imposter syndrome, that's kind of a given. But if there's anything kind of unusual,
so
fix them out.
One person says, I feel I don't accept all of my experiences and skills, and if I can do better, I can charge more for the value of my work and live a freer life.
Okay.
And we all feel self-doubt at one point or another. It's always good to know more tools. Yeah, so they want to learn more about how to safeguard this.
Yeah.
Well, I'm here as well. Well, one of the reasons. And one person says, even after 15 years experience in my field, I still feel I'm not good enough. I think, yeah, that's quite...
So 15 years, yeah, that's a long time to say. And what I often find that people are actually afraid to say, I'm amazing, especially, I'm not saying men don't experience this, especially women. We kind of downplay ourselves, and we struggle with saying, well, walking into a room and say, well, you need to hire me because I am the best candidate for the job, or I am the best you're going to get. People have a like, that's a bit self-serving. So that's quite interesting. Yeah, sorry.
I think someone says, I have trouble getting projects started by myself and keep existing projects running effectively. So, someone says, I feel out of depth in my job and that everyone knows it. So yeah, I think that's quite a big one, that you think everyone else feel what you're feeling.
Yeah.
And that certain things continuously rely on my instructions and input for others. So yeah, so you're constantly like relying on what others are saying.
Yeah.
So there's so many that came in at the same time. I've never been able to accept I'm good enough, although I'm often told people are in awe of everything I managed to do. I think that's most people can relate to that, for sure. and strategies for helping others in my team to believe in themselves and better supporting them as they navigate their way through these fears.
So strategies to help others. That's interesting, rather than yourself. Yeah. That's great. Yeah, so lots of the tools that I give, you can take them away and give to your staff, your staff, your team. Okay, so that's, yeah. Thank you very much for doing that for me, Maddie, for sharing that. So thanks to everyone for giving their input. Yeah, it takes a while to type, so that's why the comes in all at once. Yeah. So this is a starting point. You may have done other things in your time, but the main thing that I see why this doesn't really go away is that people don't consistently work on it. They do one thing and say it doesn't work, and they don't do anything else, or they read a book, do some exercises, and then doesn't really work. The internal work has got to happen. I can't stress this enough. I'm going to speak for 45 minutes. You must do the work. It's just that simple. You've got to do something different. You've got to take some action steps, whatever that looks like. So how many of you are here? I'm going to do a poll. So at the moment, there's a poll there. You should have some poll coming up. The poll question coming up, or the poll coming up. Oh, one answer. Yes. Okay, a couple of people. Okay. So how many of you, the question is, how many of you are currently struggling with imposter syndrome or self-doubt, or have struggled with it at some point in your life? Okay, I'm just going to make a note of the percentages. And my pen is very loud, I'm sorry. So not sure. Okay, that's interesting. So when I tell you what it is, maybe that will be interesting. So thank you very much for voting. So it's a staggering of 84% of people have said they are currently struggling with imposter syndrome or self-doubt. Thank you very much for sharing that. I'll share the results there with you for a second, and then I'll stop sharing. So what is imposter syndrome? So for anyone who's not sure, so how might it affect you? What might be going on for you? So is it a definite lack of self-belief? So it kind of clouds everything you do in terms of specifically your professional life. It can happen in your personal life, but more so it's about your professionalism. If you've got a business, or if you are working for an organization, there'll be times when you don't believe that you are capable of achieving or doing. So the lady I think someone said after 15 years, or the person, I don't know who it was, that you still don't get. So you're kind of getting into a rut with the same language that you can't do it. And there might be, something behind that, but let's talk about that a little bit more later. You feel inadequate, you don't feel you're good enough, you're mired in self-doubt. So this is just a bit of how it might be affecting you. So if you recognize any of this, you might be struggling with imposter syndrome or self-doubt. You feel undeserved of your success, that what you've achieved was by fluke. Oh, it was nothing, anybody can do this. That's type of language. You don't feel as intelligent or as gifted as others. You're always comparing to impair. So it's not something that you look at someone and think, oh, I aspire to get to that person. You look at them and you say, oh my goodness, I've not done enough. They've done so well, I'm behind. And then, your language tells you that you're not good enough, you're not capable, that look how far that person is and look where I am. The next one is it's a bit of a strange one. You prefer to stay under the radar. And I've found this in people who work in organizations. They'll do great work, but they will never speak up about it. They won't speak up in meetings. They won't tell their boss. They just prefer to stay under the radar so they can't be seen, so no one can find out that they don't know enough, quote unquote, when they really do. Perfectionism, it's never good enough. You'll see that some people think perfectionism is a great trait. It actually is. There's signs of other things going on behind it. Lots of other things it can be, but it can be imposter syndrome. And the worst thing about imposter syndrome, it actually, in fact, stops you from enjoying doing what you do. It stops you from really getting into it and throwing your passion at things, which is the sad thing about it. So I'm just spending a couple of minutes telling you about what it is, and then we'll get onto the juicy bits of what you can do differently. So what causes imposter syndrome? So it's definitely a lack of self-assuredness, a lack of self-confidence. because you're telling yourself, for anybody who hasn't been on the session last week, I suggest you also listen to that one, which is recorded. And I think you can see that on the meetup group, the recording. But a lack of self-confidence, so your inner talk, your inner dialogue is not telling you you can do it, it's telling you you can't. There's a fear of failure, because if you fail, it proves you're not good enough. So therefore you're so afraid to do something, you don't do anything at all. So there's a fear of failure, fear of the unknown. Perfectionism, again, it's never going to be right, it's never going to be good enough, because if there's anything wrong with it, then you again be found out that you're an imposter and that you don't know enough, or you don't know as much as you say you do. High achievers, they set the bar so impossibly high that, you know, it's never going to be achieved. But a high achiever is more likely to struggle with imposter syndrome, because it's never going to be good enough. And the bar is already too high anyway. So of course it's never going to be good enough. You have low self-esteem in general. So that goes around with the selves, the self-doubt, self-belief, self-confidence, self-talk. That's all the same thing. It's like a pattern, habitual behavior. Childhood conditioning. Perhaps when you were younger, you had siblings that you were pitted against each other. Your parents or someone of influence said, oh, Bob is so much better than you, and Julie's so much better than you. You're not going to be good enough. You're never going to amount to anything. So it could be childhood conditioning, that seed was planted in early childhood or at some point earlier in your life, and it's just grown. But you'd have to explore that to see where does it stem from. And that, again, involves work. So I can't stress that enough. You either do the work and find out what's going on, or you can bypass it and bypass the work and just say, well, I know I want to change. I'm just going to do what I need to do to change, rather than focusing on the past behaviors that you can't do anything about. So we're going to poll again. So on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you currently place your self-doubt? Self-belief. So 1 being the lowest of self-belief, so you don't particularly believe in yourself. 10 being the highest, you really believe in yourself. Where on the scale do you place yourself? And I'm just gonna, again, write these down, because getting old now, my memory's not so great. And excuse my loud pen again. And just interrupt me, Maddie, if because I talk a lot. Nobody on a 10 this week. I think that was a mistake. Like someone was on a 10 last week, but yeah. Okay, so that's 11, 18, 16. So it changes as you're talking. Okay. So I'm just going to change that. 9, 10, 50, 25. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to end the poll. I think everyone's voted. So the reason I'm asking this is, well, I'll leave it. I'm not going to tell you. I'll share it with you at the end. We will come back to this. I promise you, I will definitely come back to this. If anyone is, when I'm speaking as well, if anything resonates with you, that you, oh yeah, I really identify with that, then just pop whatever the slide name is, just pop, if you're going to ask a question or say something, just put the name of the slide so that I know which slide you're talking about. So when we go back through the chat box, so we can relate it back to what you said. So that's the poll. Did I share the results with you? I'm going to share the results with you. That's poll number 2. Thank you very much for voting.
There's a few on the chat. Do you want me to kind of go through it briefly?
Yeah, I don't want people to feel left out at all. Yeah.
So I may have missed a few already, but I'm just going to stick to the last ones. I think someone says that they're here to find out the difference between self-doubt, imposter syndrome, or is this the job is not my true path or passion. So I guess, yeah, to find out what actually the main problem could be. And I was just told today, being a high achiever, and now I can relate to what you've just said. just earlier on
That's
the
great. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
And someone says, I was told by my supervisor that I was all the time challenging me. Sorry, I'm missing stuff and people still coming in.
Yeah, a lot is this.
And then the high achiever habit, and she described exactly what's going on with me. Very revealing observation.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. And someone says I put myself on more than one place on the scale depending upon the specific fields that I'm working in.
Right, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Same here. I think it's the high achiever habit that's affecting me, maybe some self-esteem. Someone says I'm great at technical side of things but not so good with the business side of things. Okay, and someone says I didn't see the results from the second poll, please. Do you want to is that
it's still it should be still there. I'm still sharing it, so I don't know how that works with attendees. Attendees are now viewing poll results, is what it says for me, until I stop sharing it. Oh, actually, that's not true. I'm lying. I beg your pardon. I'm still looking at let me go to the second poll. You're absolutely right. I was looking at the wrong screen. I've got two poll results up there. So yeah, there you go. That's the poll results. So you wanted to see that. So thank you.
Great. Okay.
All right, I'll carry on. So that's great. Thank you for feeding back to me what you hear, what resonates with you, what your questions are, or you know, your self-reflection is. That's really good. So who does IS affect? It's not generally, and no disrespect to people who have chosen to not work. It's usually people who have some kind of ambition in life, who are doing something already. So you're a professional, you're a student. It's usually because you're doing something, then you start to examine what you're doing. So when I talk about professionals, I'm talking about business owners and people in a career. Obviously students are students. It does affect men as well. So women or men, it doesn't distinguish between the two. Women are more likely to talk about it. That's the difference. When I told my partner what imposter syndrome was, he said, well, that's a really strange type. It sounds really weird. When I told him what it was, he said, oh my goodness, yeah, I've definitely experienced that in some of my working situations. So it does affect men, but we're more likely to talk about it, women as women. It does affect highly intelligent individuals. And when I talk about intelligent, I'm not talking about academia. I'm talking about common sense intelligence. I'm talking about people who are driven and able to put things together. And I'm not talking about, again, you know, people think, oh, I'm great at maths, I'm good at languages. I'm not talking about academia. I'm talking about you're ambitious, you're intelligent, you're taking steps from A to B to Z. It's not limited to any type of profession. So it's not a lawyer or finance person or IT. It can affect a hairdresser as well. So it's not limited to any type of profession. It does affect incredibly high achieving individuals. You already have a long list of achievements, but you can't see them. You're blinded for some reason. So that means you're probably already a high achiever. When is it likely to occur? When you're out of your depth, newly promoted or in a new job, when you're given feedback, fear of change, fear of failure, fear of the unknown, starting your own business. When you should be celebrating your achievements, that's when it's likely to occur. When you've made a step or a leap and you feel a little bit out of your depth, that's when it's likely to occur. So this is a case study. So for anyone who you might be able to relate to this. This is someone I've changed some of the wording, but this is someone I've worked with. I've worked with and helped. So a 39-year-old female was told by a teacher aged 12 that her vocabulary was poor. She was eventually diagnosed as dyslexic. She went on to complete her A-levels, achieve a degree and a master's. And she also had some of the most senior positions in the corporate world, senior management. And despite having achieved so much, she still just could not believe that she was deserving of success and that she was a fraud. And she constantly measured herself against others. When she would go into meetings to present what she knew, she'd done the work, she just didn't believe it. And she just experienced the most incredible stress and anxiety in her life. And literally what I had to do with her was go back to her 12-year-old self and we had to create almost like a new set of beliefs. We had to create a new set of beliefs that the teacher who had said those things to her was not acting respectfully or in her best interest. So there was a lot of unraveling needed, and we eventually installed some new beliefs where she started believing more about herself, and she's gone on to now achieve so much more. She's actually working in her dream industry, her dream job, and she would never ever ever have done that had we not done that work together. So that is just a case study, and that's just an example of how childhood conditioning can impact you. But that's just a different stance. It can be anything that's actually impacting you, but usually there is a seed that stops you from feeling great and amazing. There's usually something going on in the background that you haven't yet realized or is yet unresolved, is unresolved. So here we go. What can you do about it? So first of all, it is an irrational fear. When we fear something, we tend to blow it up. You never blow up how amazing something is. We always blow up our anxieties and worries more. So it is irrational, but it's normal. Meaning it's not unusual. It's not unusual to doubt yourself. It's not unusual to have these experiences. You're not the only one that feels this way. Just doing the poll tells me a lot, tells you a lot, how many people are struggling with the same thing. And over 70% of people will experience imposter syndrome at some point in their lives. Now, I'm a big believer that if you're trying to achieve something, that there is an amount of growing pain that comes with it. So I accept my growing pains. I recognize them when I'm learning something new. So as a business owner, when I started, I had no idea what I was doing. None. I'd always had an employer, never worked for myself. Still, sometimes I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to do that? But I find a way because I'm driven by my passion. Even when I felt like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, there's people better than me, I still found a way to get through it, so that I started to give myself different signals and different messages. So practical action, what can you do? So the first thing is, what's your language? So those people who are going into work and saying, I'm not good enough, or if you've been doing it for 15 years and you still say, I'm not good enough, what is it that your project that you wanted to get started, you're good at projects, but I didn't quite write that properly, you're not very good at doing your own projects, I think you said. That's where you need someone who's your accountability buddy that really helps you and cheers you on. When you feel out of your depth, that's just natural. It's just natural. You feel a little bit like you need a guide. But again, find a mentor. If it's your own business, get into groups, mastermind groups, or networking groups. So these are the types of language that I've heard, and I record them. If I hear a new one, a new version, I literally write them down. So I'm just going to go through a quick snapshot. They're going to find me out. They know more than me. I feel incompetent. I won't be promoted. I remember hearing someone say, I'm just going to leave because they're going to find me out. And she literally handed in a notice because she felt like she was out of her depth so much. And eventually she got talked back into it after seeing some different reasoning. But you just panic. It's this sense of panic that sets in. I don't know if anyone recognizes any of these terms, or you've got your own version. And it's kind of like, what do I know? I know nothing. You ask yourself those questions. Just going to watch the time. So slowing down is really important. So for those of you who are really struggling with feeling out of your depth or feeling like an imposter, that you're not good enough, how much time do you spend doing something differently? Or how much you're more likely to sit there thinking, spending more time and energy actually thinking, I don't know enough. Just keep going on that same spiral. What have you been doing to take a step back and say, practically, logically, I do know more than I think I do. I can do this. I do have the skills. I can find out how. So slow down. Take that time to invest in your personal development. And I'm not talking about money. Well, you can invest monetarily, but time, space, slow down. We're in lockdown mostly. This is a great opportunity to figure out what you can do differently to take yourself on the next, to the next step of change. Acknowledge how you feel, because yes, you can sit in it, but if you're going to wallow in it, as in you can spend time wallowing it, but if you want something different, you must first acknowledge it, say it's okay not to be okay, but then I really do want to do something about this. So what can I do? So awareness is your first step to change. So take that step, slow down, acknowledge how you feel, stop racing, because your mind races as well. Just slow down and take that 10 minutes to see things quietly in terms of what you can do differently. Separate your fact from your fiction. So fact is usually what's in the past, what's done, what can't be changed. Facts are your accomplishments. Facts are what you've done, what you've achieved. Whether it's riding a bike, learning to swim, passing exams, getting a job, they're all factual. Your experiences, they're factual. The fiction that you create is, I'm not good enough. I'm going to be found out. I'm out of my depth. I don't know what I'm doing. They know more than me. That's your fiction. You're creating that because you're worried and you've got that level of self-doubt. So make a list and separate what's going on in your head, what's not real. Write that down. Make a list. Your list might be really long, but make that list. And then write on the other side of that, what is factual, what cannot be changed. You've got a job, you're a woman, you're 5'5", you live in South London. They're all fact, they're examples of facts. So what are the facts in your life versus the fiction? Start making this audit, this self-audit about your qualities rather than what you don't have. And you can't solve the problems you have with the same thinking that you use to create them. So I've got an exercise for you, and I don't know if we're going to have time to do this all now because it can be quite deep. I would usually do this in a workshop. But what would you like to be different? So for those of you who have got a personal challenge or a change you want to make, what is it that you want to be different? So it could be that you no longer want to feel like a fraud, or you want to go traveling. You might want to get up and do public speaking. What is it that you want to be different? So just name those, just one thing, don't pick lots and what is it that you want to be different? And what is it that's stopping you? So is it fear? Is it real? Is it tangible? Or is it an unexplained blocker? Is it fear? And if it's fear, what is it that you're afraid of? So what is it that's stopping you from doing whatever you want in the first question? Hope that makes sense. And you don't have to write this to me. You can work this out yourself. Hopefully you've got a pen, but if not, you can do the exercise separately. Take a screenshot and do the exercise after the session. And I just want you to imagine what would be possible for you if you let go of whatever it is that is stopping you. So if you let go of that fear, or if you let go of, I don't know, say you don't have a particular skill, if you achieved that skill, you found the way to do that. So what would be possible if you let go of whatever that's stopping you? What would be possible for you? I want you to use your imagination. And then I want you to write down 3 things that you've actually been successful in doing. So 3 things in your life. I don't know how, I imagine most of you are over 16, over 18. 3 things you've been successful in doing. So they could have been things that when you started, you thought, I'm never going to get there. I'm never going to achieve this. Write down 3 things you've actually done and you've actually said, yes. Whoa, it could be a small thing, could be a massive, huge thing, right? Just 3 things, 3 simple things. Could be learning to swim, as I said, drive, learn to walk, skydive. I don't know if you want to go extreme. The job that you've got, passing your exams, degree, masters. 3 things you've been successful in doing. I can see there's some messages coming in, but now after you've done that, and I might not have given you enough time, when you've written down those 3 things, what is in your control to change? What do you believe is in your control to change? When we're referring to whatever it is that's stopping you, whatever that you've created as a blocker, what do you now believe about yourself? What do you believe is in your control to change? And if you've got that far, what will you take from this going forward? And if anyone's managed to work through it with me still talking, if anyone has a change or an enlightening moment of what I've just said, please share it in the chat box. Put exercise, or just put EX and then space, and put your takeaway, your revelation, or your, oh, it didn't work, whatever, just your feedback, or your what's happened there for you. And if you've got, I know I did that really quickly. If you haven't got time and you need time to think, I know when people throw these questions at me, types of questions on workshops and webinars, I need time to think. So just take a screenshot, and I really recommend that you, or take a picture of your phone, whatever. I really recommend that you do this exercise and let me know, or let Maddie know, what your experience is. And Maddie, if there's anything that's come in there, I can see the chat box is ramped up.
There's a few. So in your just general exercise questions from the start, I think someone said, I want to make decisions faster in my work. Someone says, rewrite my personal mythology. Someone says, I want to be acknowledged for what I know and have achieved. I simply want to be confident that I have enough knowledge for my job. And someone says, to get into disciplined routine, I cannot manage to wake up early in the morning, for example. Someone says, everything. And then the X is write down steps of what I need to do. Someone said, everything that's possible in reality that is bounded by the current law of physics, smiley face. Someone says X is increased self-confidence at work. And someone else says X, I recognize it's important to focus on my achievements rather than looking into what if scenarios.
Okay.
And someone says, I managed to lose weight with health conditions and fix it with my work. I think changing my mindset and believing I can do well if I let go of the fear and self-doubt.
Right. So that's what you could imagine doing. And that's what they're taking. I guess that's what they're taking from this going forward. Mm-hmm. That the answers. Okay.
I mean, I would like to add to that. So one of the things I would like to be able to do more is public speaking in general. In front of a lot of people, and not behind a Zoom call, for example, but actually like in a room of people, because I think that's a big challenge. But yeah, that would definitely want to work on that. So I'm going to do these exercises and have a think about what to do next.
Oh, that would be great. I should have got you up on stage here. What would be so that's a good question for you. What would be possible if you let go of X, if you let go of whatever that's stopping you? So if you were to get up and you say you want to public speak, what would that look like? What would be possible for you if you were a public speaker?
Yeah, I mean, there would be a lot of things. I mean, I would definitely, within my job, I could do a lot more if I could do that, because we do events a lot, and I think attending events and talking about what we do is sort of the next level for me. So I do need to kind of get into that. But I don't actually have that much experience of public speaking, so probably that's where my fear comes from. But I would like to crack that.
Oh, that's quite interesting. You don't have a lot of experience, but you can only have the experience by doing it. So
yeah, exactly.
You definitely don't need the experience to start. So that's great. Actually, I could have got you to answer, given you as an example. So what were you going to take from this going forward? So you're a great. Thank you for being my guinea pig again.
Anytime.
What will you take from this going forward?
So you mean in general about what to take from it? I would. I guess sort of like, yeah, write down what the fears are, to kind of, so it's not just a general thing. Because because I'm often sort of say, well, I don't want to do it because it's a bit scary, but actually it's more than that.
Yeah.
Maybe. And why it's scary. And then probably I would sign up and do some events, and if it goes wrong and I don't speak well and I'm nervous, then so be it. But I think I need to do that. That's probably.
Oh, I love it. Awesome. Yay.
Yes, I do think I guess that's the fear, is to do that and do it wrong. But I think people do forgive, and people do know, and it's nerve-wracking, and it's okay that it is, it can go wrong sometimes.
That's great. Well done. That's fantastic. Thank you, Maddie. That's brilliant. And the other thing to know as well is people don't know what you're going to say. So you can't do it wrong. They don't know what you're going to say. It's in your head. So go ahead, do it wrong.
So just before you move on, question, someone says public speaking for me too. And someone says my relation to playing down of my successes, blaming them internal factors outside of my control, my direct control, and not seeing them as direct output of something I have done, is one of the things. And one guitarist who suffered from stage when having to front the band, went on stage, went on a stand-up comedy course. Okay, that's good advice, Billy. Thank you. And so people agree, and they say they know how it feels, and that's what is control to change. Stop with the labels on myself. Stop with labeling in myself. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's just in a few minutes, and I'm sorry I said it's big, and obviously you've got a lifetime of stuff going on in your head. It's really hard to change it on an hour-long webinar, but just if you see these simple questions, that if you look at things differently, you can start to change what's wrapped around in your head, what you think your capabilities are. So that's just a really simple example. Well, simple is a strong word, but a basic example of an exercise that can help. So thanks very much, Maddie. Is that everything now there? I know I'm going quite rattling through it as well. I need to do 90 minutes, don't I?
Yeah.
Are you still reading?
No, but you can continue. I think we're 1:45 now, so.
Yeah. Okay. So and I want to give people the chance to ask their questions. So, that exercise I just gave it gives you an example to change your narrative. So to do different things. So start saying the things that you keep saying into your head, they're on repeat. Start changing that recording. Change the recording. Say something more helpful, like what Maddie just said. I'm going to practice. I'm going to do something different. Use the power of your imagination to visualize what you look like doing successful things, or the things you want to do, because we always use the power of our imagination doing blowing up what we worry about and what we're anxious about. So settle them down a little bit. They might still be there, but start using the power of your imagination on a daily basis, or as much as possible during the day, imagining what you look like speaking on a world stage, or taking that next step in your business, or taking that next step on your promotion, or just passing an exam. Just use your imagination for that. Make a list of your achievements and keep going back to it. Your achievements, your values, your purpose. What do you stand for? Put your ideas in there, your big ideas, your little ideas, things that you want to do. Get your fears out of your head, write them down rather than have them rattling around in your head all the time. And what resources do you have? If you can't do it on your own, if you're struggling with doing it on your own, ask for help, please. It's just so basic. Stop trying to figure it out on your own. Just ask someone, put it out there. They will not think any less of you. Just make sure you pick someone who is worthy and trustworthy. Look for some external support. So we've got online groups, we've got groups springing up left, right and centre that you can go and talk to. Meetup groups, Facebook groups, Medium, what's the other one? There's another one, I forget. But anyway, groups. Talking therapy. Obviously, I'm a coach, I'm a talking therapist. I get people talking to me, I listen to them, I see their thoughts and their ideas that they can't see. I help them clarify them, I give them clarity, and then they can move on with a new picture in their life. So talking therapy. If you need a psychotherapist or a counsellor, go and see them. There's no shame in doing that. Get a mentor if you're in the working environment. So think about talking to someone who is an expert in and able to help. Organisational support, if you've got a company that you're working for, ask for employee assistance. There's lots of people that they can also offer you counselling, guidance, coaches, etc. So your action steps today, you're on this call. If you're just here and you think, well, I'm not really going to do anything, I'm going to put it on the back burner, it might not be that important to you right now, which is fine. But identify and commit to at least one thing that you're going to change and create an action plan. How are you going to start thinking differently? How are you going to speak to yourself differently? What will you then do differently? And what can you do to help future-proof this? So in the event that it comes back again, what can you do to minimize it or completely obliterate it? And decide, ask, and engage an accountability partner. Make sure that person is objective, trustworthy. So if you're going to ask a friend, make sure you can trust them. You can normally tell if you can trust someone by how they talk about other people behind their back. So if they often talking about other people, then that's probably not someone you can trust. But get an accountability partner, someone who will champion you and help you. So I'm going to move on to questions now, but I just want you to scale it just one more time. So given what I've just shared with you, and again, I know it's a lot, and if your complaint is that I didn't spend enough time on it, then that's a great complaint. But scale all the things that I've said to you, and I just want to see where we are now. Just with this conversation, 48 minutes. What I do need to do, just I think you should still be able to see my screen. I just need to share something with you, which I forgot to put on my clipboard. So if you're still scaling. Okay. Woo, someone's at 10. Well done. Righty ho. If you finish, I'm going to end poll and then I'm going to open up. So start thinking about your questions. And I'm just going to share the results. So I'm just going to make a note of the move. Okay. And I'm going to share the results with you. So hopefully, just let me know if you can't see them. Now, most of you have shifted and we've gone up from the 5 to 7 bracket has moved into the 7 to 9 bracket, but that's just me saying some simple things to you about your thinking. And again, so the 3 to 5, I think there's this slightly under. Yeah, so that's dropped. It was 16%, it's down to 11. So you can see that, and that's just me sharing some things with you. So I'm not going to carry on anymore. I'm just going to ask you to submit your questions. Can you put a Q so that Maddie can see what the difference is between all the chat? Just put Q if you've got a question to ask. And if anyone desperately wants to unmute themselves, I don't know if that's okay, Maddie, but we've got 10 more minutes left.
Yeah, would you share your slides if anyone wants to access them?
Yeah, I'm happy to share the slides. And I'm just going to I'm going to pop my calendar link there for you. And then I've got a private message somewhere, which I can't see anymore. This is what happens when you message me privately. I'm really sorry. It's really hard to disseminate there's so many people in the box. If you just sent me a message, it's disappeared. Perhaps you can call. Does anyone have any questions? So, Juliana, how to go from, okay, I won't shout you out, but so the thing is, people think they're arrogant, but I very rarely hear people actually being arrogant. The people who are arrogant say, the question is, sorry, big pun, the question is, how do you go from imposter syndrome to arrogant bragger? Just walking into a room and talking about your achievements, the saying is, if it's true, it ain't bragging. So if you say, like, so for instance, in March, I demonstrated a live coaching session in front of 5,000 on a virtual event with 5,000 attendees. For me, that is a phenomenal achievement. I will talk about that. I have no shame in talking about that. For me, that's phenomenal. All that hard work I've put in on my own personal development came to that. That's not bragging. So if you're going to be going, oh yeah, I went on the Women in Tech event and I spoke to 5,000 people. That's just demeanor. That's not, I'm saying the same thing. I'm just saying it with a different tone. The first time I said it with confidence and self-belief. The second time I did it with a bit of swagger. Nothing wrong with swagger, but you know, it was a bit nonchalant almost. So that's the difference. It might just be attitude. If you're confident and self-assured and you speak about your beliefs, there's nothing bragging about that. So I hope that answers your question. Are there any more, Maddie?
Yes. Let's see. Well, people saying what a great workshop. Thank you. And agreeing with you that it's not bragging, actually. And then, so the Twitter I've shared and the slides you will share, someone asking about those.
Yeah, so I'll speak to you, Maddie, about how best to do that. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great. And I've shared the Twitter account and my email. I can put it in here as well if you want to get in touch with me about anything else. And the video I will upload onto Space 4 YouTube channel, which I will share with you as well, so you can access that. And people saying thank you and they gotta go and they love the session. Yeah, so I think that's the, and then someone says how to change your narratives and maintain a positive frame of mind.
So that's practice. So changing your narrative is you want to move it from where it is now, currently, if it's unhelpful, to where you want it to be. So that's literally, you got to write down the narrative you're saying to yourself. So that's why I kind of said about the journals, writing down your journals, your list of accomplishments. So what is the narrative that you're saying about yourself? What is that continued voice in your head saying? Write that down. And what do you want it to say? So you're going from A to B, or you're moving it from the left to the right, or whatever your language is, your learning style. So what is your language and what do you want it to look like? And you practice that new language. Every time you hear yourself reverting back to that unhelpful language, you change it. And that takes time. The reason why people fail so much is because they spend 2 seconds trying to do something different. It doesn't work. And they say it didn't work. So you must consistently do it. Or, as I say, you go to a professional who can help you switch your language, who can do that within, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours kind of vibe that you've been carrying around for so long. But write your new narrative. That's an easiest way I can do, and practice it. Don't say you don't have time. Do it every day. If you like Roll's work, I can work with a list of accomplishments, reminding myself. Yeah. So that, I hope that helps you, the person saying they want to change their narrative. And so maintain a positive frame of mind. So you can't be positive all the time, but you can be uplifted, or you can notice when you're sinking into a negative or an unhelpful, rather than negative frame of mind, an unhelpful one. Mm-hmm. You can then start saying to yourself, well, I don't want to feel like this. How would I want to feel? Or how would I prefer to be? And then you start doing that. But that does, for me, it takes time. I've come so far with how I used to be quite grumpy. My partner as well, he's so grumpy. Well, he used to be so grumpy. Now I can't recognize him, because we both said we just want to be more, life's too short. So we recognize it and we changed our language in general. We don't react in the same way. Let's say we don't react to negative things in the same way. We kind of laugh about them sometimes more. So that, Tanuja.
You check to see if they went home.
Okay.
Someone is asking, how do you stop comparing yourself to others?
Yeah, so the biggest way I can do that is to tell you that you're comparing yourself. So say you're a Lamborghini, you're a red Lamborghini, and you've got a red Polo. What is the point? That's the biggest way I can tell you that, to hard impact hitting in a short space of time. You do not know where people have come on their journey. You don't know, they might have had wealthy parents, a positive upbringing, cash injections, I don't know, whatever it is, or they might have had a really miserable upbringing and they've just chosen to dig themselves out of it. You don't know what people have come. You can't compare other people on a different journey to you. That's, like I said, comparing two red cars that I've got totally different power under the engine. So that's the easiest way I can take to say that to you. Does that help you, Nadira? That's a starting point anyway.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I think lots of people saying thank you for the workshop.
Okay.
We've got a few more minutes if anyone else got anything else they want to... Oh, someone says, how people see you as a reflection on them, not you.
Yeah, there's a great phrase, what you think of me is no business of mine. I think that's such a great phrase. If you can get in the habit of saying that, because you know, everybody has an opinion. Do you want to take that opinion on board? Do you want to live your life based on what someone else thinks of you? Or do you want to live your life based on what you know of yourself, what you know about yourself, what you want to achieve?
Someone says, do you have to always go back to your past to unravel things? It's better for yourself.
Make things better. Oh yeah, I can see the question now. So Sarah, some people have the ability not to, but some people have the ability that they don't have to go back to the past, but it depends on who you are. So I work very well for myself in focusing on where I want to go. You know, I believe I'm here. I do the things I do. I'm a natural product of my past, and there were lots of things that happened in my childhood, for instance, and my teenage years, that were not very helpful, they're awful, downright awful. I've said that before, that they ruled my life for a long time. But that's just a part of me. I can't change that. So I've let that go, and I only focus on where I want to go forward. A psychotherapist might tell you you have to go back, but I can't answer that question. It's personal, really. I don't believe you have to go back to your past, but that's personal. If you've had some kind of trauma, you know, domestic violence, sexual trauma of some sort, you might have to unlock that. So I have to be careful what I'm saying here, but I'm not a psychotherapist, but there's some things that you have to unlock and unravel before you can move forward. So I hope that answers your question as well. Yeah, definitely work on your acknowledgement of your achievements. So for those of you, if it's only one thing you do that accomplishments, write it down and put it everywhere. Put it on your fridge, put it on your cooker, put it everywhere, how amazing you are, and just keep saying, I am remarkable, I have achieved so much. That's a really great phrase. Connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a message. I want to hear from you. I mean, I deliver these sessions and I love to hear back from people. I'd love to continue the conversation on LinkedIn or something if you're there. So that would be wonderful. So thank you for being here, and thank you for listening, and thank you for engaging.
Yeah, that was a brilliant session. So I think we've kind of reached, it's 5 now. That was brilliant. But yeah, if you got any questions, let me know, or Rosemary, and just follow us on social media and sign up to newsletters. There'll be lots more of these. So there's 2 more workshops with Rosemary coming up. I think the next one is in 2 weeks' time, if I'm not mistaken.
It's on the 16th, and then the next one's on the 23rd.
Yeah, and all of this is on the meetup and on our website as well, and all the links, and there'll be links on YouTube stuff and Twitter, and everything else you're asking for will be on there. So, and yeah, that's all from my end.
Wonderful.
Yeah, thanks everyone for attending. It's amazing to see so many people on a Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, it was like really hot last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very
we had quite a few, but so many people have turned up. Thank you. And I'll send the slides to you, Maddie, so you can share it how you see it. Fantastic.
Great.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
I'm gonna end.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. See you at the next session.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you, ladies. Bye-bye.
No worries. Bye. Bye.